What's up and welcome back to a new video. So I thought I'd have a sit down with you all, as a common question that seems to come up time and time again, and it's probably without a doubt the biggest question I get nowadays, and has been for a while, is do I still trade the old style, i.e. the Falcon strategy? And another question is, when did it happen, why have I changed, and just a few things around smart money as well. So I really wanted to address that and actually come in, because it was only the last video I think when I actually hopped on the charts, did some technical analysis work on how to pay yourself and things like that, and got a few comments and like, have you changed style, like from Falcon style and stuff like that. I was quite shocked because I thought obviously a lot of people are up to date with what I'm doing, but I started to realize that maybe everyone's not up to date with what I'm doing, and that's okay. But I really wanted to address that and talk about my transition from, you know, trading patterns to then more so price action, and how I came into smart money, and overall where I'm at right now. I think that'd be a good transition of coming into that and talk about why and the story behind it. So first of all, you guys know that I was trading patterns for a good 3 years, so from 2017 to 2020, and overall up to mid 2019, you know, I'd had profitable months before, but overall I'd never really found that real consistency with my trading of, you know, long-term consistency up until mid 2019, when I'd had my first 6 to 8 month period of, you know, good results. So August, I think it was August 2019. It was August 2019, I remember it was a Euro-Pound position. I documented that on YouTube actually. And it was my first, like, well, I'd had big trades before, but it was my first like real solid above 20% trade. And obviously it was a smaller account back then and things were a bit different. But it was my first time that I was like really confident in my trading. I felt like it was a good thing self-belief wise to actually achieve, and that was my first near 30% month. You know, like I said, it was a smaller account back then, so it doesn't mean the same, but still I still achieved it. I still had to do that. It took consistency, it took discipline, it took me sticking to my plan processes. I felt like I was in a good place with my trading, and then obviously coming into the next 6 months, they were good. I'd had 1 or 2 down months, I believe, but overall very consistent over the 6 month period. You can't judge things month to month, it's more so the quarterly and 6 month and yearly results, right? So things were going good, and then COVID, you know, the COVID situation kind of hit 2020, so early 2020, and it kind of threw me off a little bit because the markets completely changed like overnight, and they were very volatile. So I went from using 15, 20 pip stops usually to now 30, 40, 50 pip stops, and just being completely chucked out of my comfort zone and not really knowing what was going on. And that was completely fine, but I'd never experienced anything like that within my journey so far, you know, up until that point. And it was difficult at the time because I remember speaking to some of the people around me who had more experience. They'd been through maybe the 2008 market crash and stuff like that, and their biggest factor was risk management and protecting capital. But for me, like, I had my foot on the gas going into that period, so I just continued with it. I kind of got hit with a few losses and stuff like that, and some of the trades that were playing out previous, so Q3, Q4 the year before, 2019, some of the things that were playing out were no longer acting the same, no longer playing the same. I felt like the market's just evolved slightly into a new cycle, and obviously that's what happened. So yeah, I felt like I hit a roadblock coming into Q1, Q2, because I'd gone from that consistency period up until Q1, Q2, where I was kind of in a bit of a situation where I'd not had that consistency in Q1, Q2, where it was a bit difficult for me. Don't get me wrong, I'd had a good month or two, but then overall over the quarter it wasn't that great, and I kind of felt like I understood what was happening. You know, I could see patterns playing out. I could see it happen over the course of different data. Obviously patterns to a certain degree are subjective. They have the same makeup sometimes, so you would have, let's say for example with an ascending channel, you'd have usually 2 or 3 touches, a makeup, a middle section within that pattern, and quite often the pattern will play out. But then what I noticed was the same patterns weren't playing out as often. My strike rate decreased and stuff like that, and you know, certain things changed like that. So what I realized is that I knew what was happening, but I couldn't explain why things were happening. Like, I knew things like, you know, for example, I would trade double tops, double bottoms. Price would sometimes break the double top, and we would call that mass psychology, and that would break to the downside. And I could understand like what was happening. I could see it within the markets happening time and time again, like a certain pattern, i.e. what I now call like a liquidity grab and stop hunt, etc. but I wasn't really sure why it was happening. You know, I couldn't explain it to anyone. Whereas I kind of went on that search of like wanting to explore more, wanting to learn more about myself, the markets, how the markets actually operated, and I went just on a journey because I felt like I'd hit a point where I was like, still at a good stage within my trading, but I just almost felt like I wouldn't say maxed out, but I pictured it in the time of like, right, if this is my knowledge, if the market's 100% in terms of the knowledge you can acquire throughout the market, and I've got 20 or 30%, let's say, up until that point, looking back, probably not even that, but at the time that's what I obviously thought. I was like, right, I can either max out on what I've got with this 30%, or I can kind of, you know, learn more about different things, learn about why the market moves in this way, and some of the fundamentals behind, you know, market makers and stuff like that, and just understand the fundamentals behind it a little bit more. But that's the kind of reason why I wanted to go on a little bit of a search. Plus the whole COVID stuff just really shook me up a little bit and made me realise that I wanted to just learn a bit more and gain more experience on myself. And you know, I was in a group and it was great, and I'd learned a lot of different things. You know, I networked with a lot of different people. Some of those people still in my life right now taught me a lot of different things in terms of, you know, not only scalability, thinking longer term, but also being around those kind of people just made me realize like how well you can do with obviously capital preservation, scalability. Like, it helped me to think longer term. I had that mindset coming into trading anyway, but it just promoted that and really brought it out. Risk management, routines, psychology, all these different things. It gave me a very good foundation in terms of that. So, you know, nothing but gratitude towards that. I'm super grateful. But I just felt like I'd maxed out, and I really wanted to just grow on my own for a little while, you know, go on my own journey instead of being within that community. It was helpful up until a certain point, but I felt like, you know, I really wanted to just go on my own journey and start to learn more about myself and trading, etc. So that's the quest I went on, and I'm grateful I did that. It was difficult at the time. I remember taking a few good weeks to really just think about that, but at the time it was a gut feeling, and I really do follow my gut feeling. I do believe that intuition is a big part of what I do, and why I do certain things. I'm very connected with my intuition, always have been. So when something comes up like that, I'm very, you know, I'm very, what's the word? I really want to just follow my intuition as long as it's backed by logic. Right, a bit of a change of environment, but yeah, overall basically what I was saying is that you know, that style was fundamental, grateful for everything that I learned in style, and it really just developed me into the trader that I was. But following on from that, coming into obviously mid 2020, that's where I really started to want to learn more about price action and really just strip things down, look at price action for how it was moving. That curiosity just naturally just led me there in terms of looking at pure price action. What are we doing? How are we forming? Like, what is materializing in the markets day to day, week by week, month to month? So that was just really crucial to my development. That's how I got funded, and overall it was just naturally just good for me. But what I found is the exact same thing. I was asking myself the same questions of, and seeing the same things in the market of different liquidity grabs, different highs and lows being taken out, ranges being built, and then liquidity within the ranges being manipulated and taken. And it was just very, very fascinating to me, and I knew I could see what was happening, but I wasn't sure why it was happening and how to explain it. I knew it was manipulation in the markets. The market is very manipulated, but I wasn't sure what to do with that information or where to learn about it a little bit more. And I had a friend. So I had a friend who was in smart money. I think he'd been in smart money for at least 6 months, I believe. He actually messaged me on Instagram. At the time, I didn't really know who he was and stuff, but he messaged me at the time. He wasn't selling anything, so I was obviously just aware of that kind of stuff. But he just like wanted to help and stuff like that, and start to see some of his markups. Start to, you know, get in contact with him quite regularly. Start to see how he was trading, how he's observing the charts, marking up the charts, how he was labeling and abbreviating certain terms, and just understanding why things were happening, and it started to really just spark my curiosity in that area, because that's what I really wanted to learn, you know. So naturally, I just went into more the smart money route, and it was one of the best things, but one of the hardest things at the time, because I went from taking 10 to 15 trades a month to then I felt like I was taking a little bit of a step back to going on a demo account for a little bit. Obviously, still trading the prior style in the background, still doing okay with it, but then just learning and just evolving into more of the smart money route. And yeah, just learning on demo account, just taking loss after loss after loss, experiencing some big wins, but then just experiencing both sides of it. And it was very frustrating because instead of taking 15 trades a month, I was now taking 30 or 35. So the frequency had obviously heightened. I had to deal with that emotionally. And even on a demo account or small capital, it was very, I don't know, it's just different to what I experienced before. Instead of taking a trade, let's say taking one trade a day, if a trade happened, I was now taking 2 or 3, and it was very different to what I'd experienced before. So I had to kind of grow with that. So the amount of walks I was taking daily, and the amount of times I just wanted to leave the laptop there and just chuck it out the window. it was mad at the time, but yeah, I learned a lot about different smart money aspects and certain things. Started to build my style around that. Just certain things I would use, but then certain things I wouldn't use. You know, like that you could trade smart money in 50 different ways. But yeah, I've got a style now. I've had a style for the last 12 months that I've kind of, it's my perception on how I trade smart money. And yeah, just developed that. And starting out, I realized quickly that a pro trend environment is obviously more profitable, higher strike rate, depending on how you do it, obviously. And I was doing well with it. So I was doing well with it, still am. Now I've started to integrate more counter trend moves as well. So obviously looking to catch the pullback side of the mood as well. And yeah, it's going well. I've had challenges along the way. I think one of them was I started to learn more content in February, March. Started to subconsciously implement that into the market. So suddenly, instead of having the checklist that I was looking at, I started to slowly integrate, more of it into the market. So without even realizing as I was watching videos. So just to give you a bit of an insight, I know I didn't talk about it at the time, what I'm going to talk about now, I was starting to go through some of the ICT content. It was really good, obviously going through that now as well, which I'm going to talk about. And yeah, what I found was there were so many different gems being dropped in that, but I found it very difficult not to want to implement it into the market straight away, and I was doing it subconsciously. But then I started to back out, started to realise that what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I've got a style that is already working, I'm doing well with it. Don't start to subconsciously implement things that you've not tested or you've not tried. So I started to kind of just implement it subconsciously, and I wasn't even aware of it, which was fascinating because it's something that I've never really done before. But then I started to realise what I was doing, back out, get back to fundamentals for a little bit. So I just completely left the ICT style for a little bit. Now I'm starting to come back to it, so I'm starting to go through the 2022 mentorship series. I'm sure a lot of you will have been through the same thing or are going through the same thing. So probably sharing this journey with a lot of you right now. And it's just really fascinating. Now I'm obviously separating out, doing what I did in the past, and just starting to learn about a few different things, a few different ways of looking at the market. But I'm going in with the mindset, this is what I really want to go across with. The intention that I'm going in with is not to change my style, not to just drop my style and just look at this new thing, because that's shiny ball syndrome, right? What I'm doing is I'm going in with the intention of, if I can learn 1 or 2 things or 3 things or a few things that can level myself up as a trader in terms of knowledge, understanding my ability and how I approach the markets, execute the markets, little things like that. If I can do that, then I've accomplished my mission and just leveled up a little bit more. Because I'm happy trading the way I'm trading now for the rest of my days, but I know I can continuously improve certain aspects of it. So that curiosity has just led me to, approach it in that mindset, and I think it's the right mindset to approach it with, instead of what most people do and they're like, here's this new thing, let me just go all in on that. I'm not approaching it in that way. I'm being very open-minded when I'm learning the content, but I'm just leaving it there, experimenting on a different tab, but then getting back to the way I do things daily. So it's a powerful way to learn in my aspect. So yeah, it's been really good so far, and yeah, I've heard his name a few times. I think he's a very credible person, a very respectable person, and he seems very transparent as well. And he's been going for a long period of time. I'm talking, looks like 10, 20, 30 years in the markets. He's had a lot of experience And with that, you obviously gain experience that a lot of people don't have. I think some of the people that I've learned from within Smart Money, it seems that they must have learned the information from him originally. So instead of going to all these different people to learn the filtered down information, what I'm doing is I'm going to the source, picking up how I want to perceive the markets from what he teaches, taking things away that suit me and my style, leaving things behind that maybe I don't want to trade or I'm not interested in. And that's how I'm going to view it. But in order to do that, I need to go through the content, take notes, experiment, backtest, and really just get stuck into it a little bit more. So I'm really excited, been through a few episodes so far, and I can see why before it got very overwhelming, because there's quite a bit of information in there. So I'm just taking my time going through it, and just obviously doing it on a different tab, which is the best way to do it, because you're not contradicting your own style and how you've already traded. You're leaving that separate and you're kind of compartmentalizing it. I think that's the best way to do it. And yeah, really excited for it. I'll keep you updated on it, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm just really excited for the next area of development within my trading, and really just seek that experience now from someone who's been in the markets a long period of time, who teaches stuff that I've wanted to learn for a long period of time as well, such as daily cycles, weekly cycles. These are things that slowly I've implemented into my trading, but because I've not learned from the source, I really want to learn from the source and make sure it's correct information. Overall, I'm at a point within my trading where I'm really satisfied with the way I'm trading. Like, everything fits right now, and I just feel good about it. Longer term, scalability wise, I can honestly say that I feel good about it. Do I see anything really changing? I'm talking big things. No. There may be small things that fundamentally change. In fact, there will be. Although I'm still working on things, and although I'm still a student and remaining in a very open mindset to, right, how can I learn, how can I figure out this 1% tweak to really improve my trading, to really improve the way I view the markets, etc. That's my intention. I'm not thinking, ooh, there's another 100-hour trade, there's another 60-hour trade, let me figure out that. Like, I'm not going in with that intention, So I think that's important. And yeah, the biggest thing that I don't like about the whole smart money thing that I did notice when I come in, and it's still relevant now, is number one, the hype around it, because there's a lot of different hype around it right now. There has been for a good couple of years now. But I think personally, noticing how on social media and in daily life there's pendulum swings. Smart money for me is just a pendulum swing. There's going to be people come and go. It's not going to be for everyone. And it's just up to the trader and how they want to pursue the markets and their trading style individually. I think the higher RR trades have really attracted to people to smart money, but I think if you really just are attracted to that and you stay in that mindset, you're not really going to get anywhere. You have to approach it the same way you would any strategy. And overall, I feel like I'm at a point right now within my trading where I'm really happy. Things aren't perfect, don't get me wrong. I still make mistakes to this day. Certain things are going to happen. The other week before I went on holiday to Greece, just want to share this as well. Like, I took a much bigger loss than what I was meant to. Basically, the story behind it was that usually my funded account was the main account on Social Trader Tools on a trade copier. So every trade that I would take on that account, it would go onto my personal and different accounts and stuff like that. But for this scenario, me thinking longer term, I wanted to put my personal account on front so that I executed trades from that account. Then it would go to my funded account, and then any challenges I did in the future as well. On this day, I completely fudged the multiplier on trade copier. Instead of taking a 0.5% loss, I ended up taking a 4% loss. And it's probably one of the biggest trading mistakes I've made in my 5 years of trading. It was out of the blue. I was a little bit stressed. There was things going on in my personal life, and I was just a little bit distracted. And it happened. I was annoyed at myself, frustrated. Went straight to the gym. It's just one of those things. I just had to sit with it, endure it, just accept it's one of those things that is gonna, you just have to learn from. It's a setback, don't get me wrong, but you just have to really learn from it. Things are not perfect, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it's a podcast from, what's his name? Stephen Goldstein. He's the, what's it called? The Alpha Mind podcast. Definitely recommend checking that out for traders. He's someone that I've met in person. He seems like a very incredible person. He's had a lot of years in the markets himself, and he brought someone on, and he was really talking about how I think he'd had like 1,000% in a year or something like that. And even he was saying, like, I'm still making mistakes. I've got to this area where I'm doing incredibly well, but I'm still making mistakes until refining. It really hit me. I was like, no matter what stage you get to, things are never going to be perfect, and you're always going to be altering certain things. You could have a $1 million business, but there's going to be certain things you need to improve on. So don't expect everything to be perfect right now, and don't search for perfection. Just continue scaling, continue improving your overall game, become the asset, and really just continue to develop yourself and figure out ways to improve your trading. What I really realized from the 5 years that I've been in trading, although there is people to look up to and learn from, and I think that's so important, especially in nowadays, to really speed things up sometimes. At the same time, 70% of this is just winging it to a certain degree. You're figuring things out on your own, figuring things out, what works for you, what doesn't work. Something that worked for someone else may not work for you. The way they look at the markets may not work for you. So a lot of it is just figuring things out and literally just winging it. So don't be afraid of doing that. And people who start businesses nowadays, it's the same thing. A lot of it you're just figuring out as you go along. Just literally have that vision, one foot in front of the other as you go along, and really just figuring things out along the way. Nothing's going to be perfect, but don't expect it to be at the same time. You will get the answers when you need it, when you need them. As long as your intention is in the right way, you're going to get the answers. You're going to figure things out. You're going to end up where you want to be. It just takes time and patience and just developing yourself to be the person that you want to be, So overall, I'm going to end on that note, but hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and make sure you subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, drop a comment down below. I love reading the comments as well, and I'll see you in the next video. Speak to you all soon.